Welcome to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast, your go-to resource for personal development and coaching. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm Leticia Ringe, your coach and host. And in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you more information about the first phase in the business cycle, which is all about starting a signature offer for your business. Now, in order to create a signature offer for your business, you need to have an aligned business model. And many of you are growing an offer for your business that is not aligned with the life and business goals you have. This is a problem. And so what happens is you end up trying to validate this offer, grow it, scale it, and ultimately it's not something that you want to, or even in some cases can grow. And so you experience a lot of challenge and setback. And what is needed is for you to go back to the first phase in the business cycle, which is all about starting. Now, because we take a hierarchical perspective to the 4 phases to the business journey, a lot of us have resistance to doing that. We just want to keep growing. We want to keep moving forward. It becomes harder and harder the bigger you grow to go back to that first phase. What I want you to understand in today's episode is how worthwhile it actually is to slow down and do this so that you can speed up. If you're trying to grow something that is not aligned with the life and business you ultimately want, you are setting yourself up for problems in the future. You're setting yourself up for something that isn't sustainable. It's going to come crashing at some point. So even if you are at a later phase in the business cycle, self-identified, of course, from the previous episode, which if you haven't listened to yet, I recommend you go back and listen to now. So even if you're in a future phase of the business cycle and you don't believe that the first phase starting is relevant, I still recommend you listen to this episode because you might realize where some of your gaps are, why things are not working for you in the later phase, and you may want to temporarily come back to this phase with your offer to make sure you get it right so it's set up for success and sustainability. Now, this episode is for you, whether you are a new business owner or whether you're an established or growing business owner who's now either thinking about starting a new offer, replacing your product or service in your business, or you've decided to start a new offer for the first time. And what I'm going to do in this episode is go through some of the considerations you need to make at this phase of the business journey to make sure that any offer you have on the table or are considering putting on the table is one that will actually be aligned with the life and business you want to create, so that you make sure you've got something that can be financially successful, that can be impactful, personally fulfilling, aligned with your definition of business success, as well as your lifestyle that you want to live, and as well as the life and business goals you have, one that's also sustainable and something you're proud of. We talk here about building a world-class business. And in order to do that, we need a world-class offer. Your offer is a product or service that you sell. And as you've heard me speak to many times throughout this podcast, I highly recommend you focus on building one core world-class offer for your business at a time. And even better if you just have one offer and that's all you do, because then you're going to become truly world-class at delivering that particular offer and also marketing and selling it, which is how you end up delivering the offer. Once you get to a phase where you've brought that offer through all 4 phases of the business journey and you decide that you actually want to replace that offer, or maybe you're bored, you want to pivot, maybe you want to do something new, or maybe you simply do have the capacity and want to expand and create and bring on another world-class offer. In that case, you would be starting the business cycle again in relation to that particular offer, and that is what this episode is for. So, in order to create a signature world-class offer for your business, in order to create an offer that will be effective, sustainable, successful over time, you want to make sure you understand how to set yourself up with an aligned business model. Now, here's what you need to consider in order to do that. Whatever you pick as the product or service you're offering in your business, it needs to be something that you want to devote yourself to and become a master at. This is the first question. Is this an offer I want to devote myself to and become a master at? Now, the reason you want to ask yourself this is because in order to be world-class at anything, you got to commit to a long-term journey. You're not going to be great at delivering and marketing and selling this offer right from the get-go. You just won't. It doesn't matter how many certifications you have. It doesn't matter how much experience you've had in other roles in the past. You're only going to get better over time. And so if it's important to you that you make a meaningful contribution to the world, that you are a leader within your niche and industry, if you want to bring your unique skills and perspective to a particular problem that you're helping your clients to solve, and you want to get really good at helping them to solve that problem, then you need to commit to being in that problem and in that particular product or service for the long term, so that you can continue to get better and better at what you do. I've been talking a lot about professional development in terms of business growth because I see it as the one topic that most people give zero attention to. We think all we need to do is go and get a certification, and then we can continue getting other certifications in new modalities as we need them. We think we just need to learn the business and marketing skills, including sales, of course, and then we've got everything we need to be successful in business. But what we've forgotten is the actual product or service that you deliver, the bread and butter of your business, and whatever those skills are that you use to deliver that product or service, that is what you need to focus on continually developing and refining. Because as you work with people, like for instance, if you're a coach or you're someone who helps people through a transformational process, you will be learning through your experiences with clients on how to help them get faster and better results, how to help them through their transformational journey, how to hold space for them in more effective ways. This is not something you're going to learn to the world-class standard that you could through simply learning another certification. It's something you get in the field through practice and through reflection. And in order to have great professional development, I've done a previous episode on this. I call it intentional professional development. Not only do you need to be reviewing what you're learning through actual experience, but you then work with other people within your industry, including people like me, coach or mentor, as well as your peers, and you get feedback on what you're actually doing to widen your perspective and to help you go to the next level in terms of your expertise. So this is something I'm devoted to supporting my clients with so that we can all become the best coaches, the best teachers, facilitators, and leaders that we can be in whatever the product or service is that we're providing in our business. This is what makes us recession-proof. It's what allows us to withstand changes in what's happening around us in terms of global events, in terms of the economy, in terms of changes in technology. It's also what keeps us being competitive. So we must be focusing on our actual craft. And if that's the kind of business you want, or even if you just want to stay relevant and maintain your business, even if you don't want to be the best in the industry, you just want to be in business for a long time, you're going to need to stay relevant. And in order to that, you want to pick an offer that you want to devote yourself to and become a master at. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for something that isn't sustainable. Now, I'm not saying that you can't change your mind in the future. Of course you can. In human design, I'm a manifesting generator. I love doing new things all the time. My life is very full with many different interests. My business is just one of them. And the way I've set up my business allows me to work with my multi-passionate and kind of chaotic in terms of the different interests I love to master at any one time self. And you can do that too. The more you know about yourself, the better you can set yourself up. So that's why I really help my clients go through a self-discovery process, really get to know and understand themselves, and then they build a business model that is aligned with what they understand about themselves today. As they go throughout their life and business journey, just like me, of course, we learn more about ourselves. We expand, and then we need to keep checking in and making tweaks along the way to make sure our business model remains aligned. Sometimes this looks like total pivots. New offers are needed. Sometimes it looks like just a rehaul of our offer. There's going to be some tweaks, some major tweaks, or maybe some minor tweaks. And other times it's more tweaks in the way we're marketing and selling that offer or delivering it. And so in order to know what needs to happen for you, you've got to be tuning in and asking these questions. But the question will always stay the same. The answers might be different. So first question is this an offer I want to devote myself to and become a master at? You want to be able to answer yes. Otherwise, we need to make some shifts to that offer before you go ahead. The second question is, will this offer meet my income goals? Now, because you're at the start of this offer's journey, it's likely you'll begin with either a lower price or a lower expectation in terms of how many people you work with. When you're looking at your business model and you're doing the numbers, you need to make sure that this offer has the potential to hit your income goals. And so when you're looking at your business model, you might begin with a lower price point or lower units being sold, and you need to calculate, okay, does this work with my income goals and my expectations? You'll want to consider the journey of building up to the price you actually want to offer or the amount of units you actually want to sell, i.e., if you're a coach, that would be how many people you work with at any one time. So what your capacity is until you're booked out. And you'll be factoring in what that number is based on the price you're offering your product or service for. You want to calculate and do the numbers and have a look at, well, what would this mean in terms of how much money I can actually make from this offer? And then over time, as I continue to grow it, what is the potential in terms of income of this offer? You need to look at these numbers now. Otherwise, what you'll do is, well, what a lot of people do is they put their price point way too low and they expect building a major, large community will be really easy, and then they'll sell to hundreds of people at this very low price point. And when they actually do the numbers based on their actual community and what is actually more realistic, they realize they're going to fall short. It's going to take them a long time to get to where they want to be. So you need to be able to accept reality as it is. You need to be able to look at the business journey and what is likely based on the size of your community, based on your experience, based on the offer, based on your experience marketing and selling, based on your experience delivering, based on the fact that you're going to have to get good over time at delivering and marketing and selling this offer, as well as creating the community for it. So this is something that takes time. And if you begin with unrealistic expectations, you can set yourself up to fail because you think, oh, this isn't going very well. But actually what's happened is you just haven't began with all the information you needed at the beginning to make sure your expectations can meet reality and what's likely to happen. And that's where working with someone like me is so incredibly valuable, because I'll be able to help guide you into what could be expected based on where you're at in terms of pricing, capacity, income goals, what's likely to happen in terms of how long it takes to get validated, as well as growing it, scaling it, all of these things. What are options, once you begin versus later down the track, and what can happen with this particular offer and its potential. All of that is industry knowledge, and that's why working with a business coach or mentor is so incredibly valuable. So the question you want to ask yourself is, will this offer meet my income goals? And make sure when you're answering this that you're not expecting that as soon as you start this particular offer, that it meets the capacity you have in terms of how many people you can work with, and also that it even meets the price that you want to offer for this particular offer. Now, that really does depend on you and your experience, but it's something to take into account. You can't expect that right off the bat, everything is working at its full capacity, because it just won't be. So we need to be realistic with looking at how long it takes to work up to something like that, and also then factoring in the fact that we also will have no certainty either on how long it will actually take for you. Okay, number 3, do I want to do the things I will need to do to deliver and sell this offer? I think that this is such a great question to ask ourselves, because you need to realize that no matter what product or service you sell, there are going to be some things you enjoy doing and are good at, and other things you don't enjoy doing and are also not good at. And so you need to take a full picture, a reality check on what will be required to deliver and sell this offer. Now, what a lot of people do is they like to pick a low price for their offer. And I'll talk about coaching because I mostly work with coaches, though I also work with other people who work in the coaching and personal development industry, as well as people who support people who work in the coaching and personal development industry. And I also occasionally work with people who do not work in the coaching and personal development industry. And, these are just first principles in relation to business. And so it's really helpful to know. But I like to use examples from people who I'm actually working with so that they are relatable to you all and help you understand what I'm talking about in a deeper way. So, some people in the coaching industry mostly, they want to start with a low price point for whatever their product or service is, which usually is one-to-one coaching to begin. And so let's say they start with $100 and then they do the numbers. Okay, I can work with this amount of clients at $100 a session. This is what it will equal. They do all the maths. They quickly realize, wow, that's probably not going to sustain me financially in the way that I need. And so now I need to start thinking about how much I actually would need to be charging based on the capacity you have for how many clients I can work with, so that I can start to stretch into that income bracket, but also into that price point, but also into the value I'd need to provide in order to feel aligned with that price point. Now, not only does this need to happen, which is really about the second question I asked before, will this offer meet my income goals? But they also then need to look at, in reality, what needs to happen to deliver and sell this offer. Now, if they're beginning with $100 per session and they've got an income goal to meet with that $100 per session, what they see is the amount of people that they need to sell to is very, very high. So what actually happens is you end up having to do more marketing and selling and more community creation in order to deliver that offer, because it's at such a low price point. And for instance, if you are someone doing an online course and it's offered at a lower price point or even a mid-range price point, your primary job in that offer to deliver it is going to be marketing and selling it. And so you might find that you have to spend more of your time day to day actually in a marketing and sales role than you are in a delivery role. And is that, in practical reality, when you think about your day to day, actually what you want? A lot of people do not realize that also as they grow and scale their offer, the job that they end up doing more is actually marketing and selling. This is what I found. Once I got to about $200,000 a year in my business as a coach, I then became very aware that my main job was marketing and selling. It was no longer coaching and teaching. It was actually going to be marketing and selling even more the bigger my business was growing and scaling. And I had to have a moment where I had many conversations with myself and my coaches and mastermind, etc., where I talked about this. Is this actually what I want? Do I want to be basically a full-time marketer? Because that is what this offer that I'm scaling is going to require of me. And actually, the answer I ultimately ended up having from myself was no, I didn't want that. And this is just one of the reasons I ended up pivoting away from the business model I was growing, and then is one of the reasons I've now began my world-class hybrid one-to-one and mastermind offer, because that is actually the offer that I want to deliver and market and sell. I'll only ever be working with 15 women maximum in this offer at a time, which is all I want to be working with, because I enjoy long-term intimate partnerships with my clients. And the business model I was growing before would require me to work with and sell to way more people. And even though that was doable and I was doing that through doing it, I realized actually that's not my best way of operating or working, and it's not where I feel like I'm making the biggest contribution that I could make to this problem and to our industry. And so I took a little bit of time away from business coaching. I took a little bit of time away from business actually for a while. This was during when I was going through a separation, etc. And it was really, really good for me to come back in with new, fresh perspective and ask myself, okay, what do I want to deliver and sell, and what do I see as a solution that's not being offered in the industry because of many different reasons that I actually have no problem with offering because it feels good to me. And that's where World Class and this hybrid one-to-one/mastermind offer came from, which I'm very proud of. Okay, so do I want to do the things I will need to do to deliver and sell this offer? Number 4, do I want to help my clients to solve this problem? So your product or service needs to solve a problem. That's just Offers 101, which is what you need to learn when you're at the starting phase of an offer or business journey. And when you're answering this question, you need to look at, okay, who are the clients I'm going to be selling to and working with? What's the problem I'm helping them to solve? What's my solution? What's the process for solving this problem that I'm going to be working them through? What are my gifts in relation to this offer that I'll be using? And what are the challenges that are going to be coming up for my clients as well as myself as I help them to solve this problem? Do I want to help them to solve this problem in light of all of this information? This is really important to consider because we tend to focus on the results and the best case that we can have with a client, but all of your clients are going to have different experiences and they're also going to have very similar challenges as well as their own unique flavor of those challenges. And you need to ask yourself, do I want to hold them through that? For instance, some people, I've met a number of coaches who want to help their clients through heartbreak or something like that. That's, very emotionally draining. And then the reality of supporting their clients through that process, they realize this is actually super, super, super draining for them. And it's not something that they find sustainable for themselves. Personally, I love helping people through heartbreak. I have no problem with doing it. But that is a particular example of something that's going to often be quite negative because you're helping people go through a grieving process. And you might discover that actually that doesn't work for you and you'd be better suited to a different problem you're helping your clients to solve or a different phase of a relationship journey. Maybe you want to help with dating. And because most of your clients will have done more processing initially after a heartbreak. So these are the questions you need to really consider to set yourself up for success. And again, some of them you won't know until you try it, and that's okay too. Number 5, do I want to work with the people this offer serves? This is really important because you want to always know who you want to be working with because these people are going to be the people you're going to be interacting closely with. They're going to become part of your environment and you need to want to work with these people. You need to respect them. You need to want to build this offer for them. This is your community. So you really want to think about the people that this offer serves and make sure they're the people you want to be serving. I asked myself, who do I want to have around me and how can I help those people? I love working with women and women who are passionate about personal development. And they're the people I want as my friends. They're the people I want as anyone who's close to me in my life, working with me in romantic relationship, like the people that I surround myself with are these people. And 8 years ago, when I started my business, I decided they're the people that I want to support. So I always asked, how can I support them? I helped them with life coaching, them with finding their purpose, and then ultimately going on to help them with business and then later relationship coaching. And so it was always these different niches, but I was always focusing on the same people because that's who I want around me in life. And that set me up for an aligned business model. Now, the next question I want you to ask yourself is, do I feel proud of this offer? This is a really important question to also ask yourself because in order to feel like you are aligned with what you're meant to do, you're going to want to feel proud of what you're doing. If you don't feel proud, it's not it. And that's okay. We can take some time to figure out what that it is. Question 7 is this offer aligned with the life I want to live and my definition of success? In order to answer this question, you need to know what is the life that you want to live and what is my definition of business and life success. And remember, your answer will change throughout your life, but you want to make sure what you're building on now is aligned with the awareness you do have. Sometimes what we think we want is actually not what we want because we have protective patterns blocking us from actually getting clarity on the real things we want. This is something I support my clients with through this phase of the business journey too. Okay, the 8th and final question we want to ask ourselves is, am I providing a unique and powerful solution to this problem? In order to be world-class and to stand out, and in order to bring your uniqueness as the leader of your business to the space you're working in and the problem you're solving, you'll want to be able to answer that, yes, this is unique. Otherwise, it's telling you that maybe you're just focused on regurgitating what you're seeing already on the market to be safe. And so you need to bring more of you to what you're offering. In terms of it being powerful, if it doesn't feel like a powerful solution, you're not going to want to show up and do the marketing and selling that's required to be able to deliver the product or service to your clients. And you're also not going to be powerful in your marketing and sales that you need to do to deliver the product or service. So if it's not feeling like a powerful solution, you want to ask yourself what would make it feel powerful and make sure that whatever you're offering is something that you are fully behind. You believe in it. This is what blocks people the most in terms of mindset, is that they simply just don't see or recognize the power in what they're providing. And sometimes that means you actually do need some tweaks. And other times it's just that you need to work on your mindset around it, because we're so conditioned to not brag about what we do, when actually to be really good at marketing and selling, you need to be fully behind what you're selling in order to sell it. It makes sense, right? So, as you can see, when we are able to answer these questions and we're able to set up our signature offer, a world-class offer, the core offer for our business, with all of these pieces in alignment, this is going to set you up for something that can be financially successful, that can be sustainable, that can be impactful, fulfilling, aligned, and that you're proud of. And that is with the pieces we can control. Now, obviously, there are so many pieces we can't control, which you'll only get over time. And then you'll be able to adapt based on that information you get. But if you're not going to utilize all the information you have right now, you're not putting yourself in the best position to move forward, which is why we want to start and consider all of these 8 things to get a clear offer on the table that will set us up for an aligned business model. And then we go about into the next phase where we start validating that offer, and it's setting us up to have something that we want to do the long journey of growing and scaling, because that offer is aligned in the first place. Now, if you want help with this journey, this is exactly what we'll be doing for those of you who are in this phase of your business and offer journey in World Class. One of the amazing women who's in World Class right now is going through this journey during this season of World Class. And she's had a business in the past, she's had some time off, now she's coming back in. She wants to have a world-class offer, something that's super aligned, and she is taking the time to get this piece right before we then use world-class to validate and grow that offer. So whether you're a new business owner or you're an established business owner, whether you've had time out and now you're coming back, whether you want to pivot, whether you just want to take your business to the next level and you know it requires a new, more aligned offer, we can do that in world-class. As well, if you're in any of the other phases in the business journey, validating, growing, and scaling, World Class is also the place for you. Remember, we take a non-hierarchical approach because throughout our business journey, we're always cycling through these 4 phases with every offer that we create. And World Class is really focused on having you create a world-class business, something that you're super proud of, something that you create unique expertise over, and you have the professional development support, as well as the life coaching and personal development support, as well as the 6-figure business coaching and mentorship, the growth and transformational mindset, intuition, and somatic support to support you throughout your growth journey. And it's all being taught to you in a way that allows you to thrive as a woman in business. To find out more, we're starting in July. There are still a few places available. You can head to leticiaringe.com/she's world class, complete the application there, and I'd love to see you. All right, my beautiful friends, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast, your go-to resource for personal development and coaching. To deepen your learning and practice, make sure you're subscribed to receive our community newsletter. Subscribe at leticiaringe.com/newsletter. And if you haven't yet left a 5-star review for the podcast, we ask that you please do that now so that this podcast can reach other listeners who also want to join us in creating a life that is beautiful.